Dominic wasn't here, I was not here. So we don't have enough members to approve those. So skip that. We'll do that at the next meeting. So next up is going to be Lanuzzi subdivision public hearing. I believe you're here for some completely. So the fact that we don't have any other public here, does anybody on the board have any questions? We need to open it and close it, right?
Right.
All right, so I'll accept the motion to open the public hearing for the Lanuzzi subdivision. Motion by Dominic, second by Robert. All approved? Aye, opposed? Okay. Public hearing is open. Any comments? None from the audience. I will accept the motion to close the public hearing.
Make a motion.
Motion by Dominic,
Second.
second by Brad. All in favor? Aye, opposed? Motion carried. Are there any other questions from the board? I was not at the last meeting. You guys went through everything. You did seeker. We're at the point of doing a public hearing. No other follow-up questions
My
at
only
this
question
point?
was that second driveway, where we ended up with that. I missed the last meeting, so I wasn't fully familiar with, from what I gather, it went to the town to.
Yeah,
Go
I think,
look at-
yeah, I can just go over.
Sure.
What happened.
That'd be great.
I was in contact with the highway department. The highway supervisor had no issue with the driveway. He gave me a signed document stating as such. His only stipulation was when my client ends up actually developing the driveway, just to get in contact with them to pay the fee that is involved, as well as get the size of the culvert that he needs for that driveway. But he said the specs for the driveway were fine for what we were planning on doing.
Do you have a copy of that correspondence?
I can see if I have it.
If not, could you send it to us so we can put that in the file?
Yeah,
That'd be
if I
great.
have an extra copy, I'll just hand it.
Yeah,
to you.
that'd be great.
And is there a deadline on the driveway, like a year, 2 years, 10 years?
Not to my understanding, no. There was nothing stipulated by the highway superintendent about that.
Is that something we should?
Because your concern was the second entrance going in because of the
Yeah,
shared
the second entrance
shared
going in.
driveway.
Yeah.
There is an easement that goes through.
Yeah.
We
If I
had
remember
proposed an easement, but that.
That's right, they took that off.
Yeah.
So the ingress egress for the second property there, how are they working that out? Because it's not their driveway that they're going across. They're going across somebody else's property to get to their house. Correct?
It's kind of a touchy subject because they're both relatives. So in the future, it would be an issue if they were both separate families. But the intent of this subdivision was to split both properties between both family members. I can see that being an issue in the future if anybody decides to sell the properties. But currently it would not be an issue. And I know our client is pretty eager to get this done with the driveway. I know for other subdivisions, it's kind of hard to say because this one's already developed, but other subdivisions, they are approved with the idea that the driveway would be installed for the construction and then start developing the properties. So,
Do you have a most current map that we can take a look at? I think the copies that I have in the file here appear to be old because I know there was a location for that apron to be on there. I've got the most current. I've got one. Yep.
okay.
Does anybody else want to see a copy just to?
No, I've seen it with the second
Yep.
driveway, and
Yeah,
I was just curious if there was a,
I agree with Dorothea,
Time
just some
limit.
sort of expectation of it being put in.
From a legal standpoint,
So what I was thinking here is the planning board's identified a potential adverse impact when the property changes hands.
Mhm.
And it surrounds that driveway. So one condition of approval could be upon ownership, that driveway is to be constructed to those standards.
upon new ownership,
Upon a transfer of these properties.
Or when this deed happens of two separate.
so you're talking about when this subdivision's approved,
I think the concern is after this is
How would that
if
approved.
it sells.
They couldn't move the driveway after it changed hands. What would be the stipulation? Well, then it would be filed, we would want it on the map, so it's enforceable and it's part of their resolution, but obviously the enforcement gets a bit tricky on
I'm
this.
not clear what you mean enforce.
A second driveway,
Oh,
because right now there's only one means of access.
Because right now they're saying it's
There-
okay.
Yeah,
everyone's
essentially,
fine.
there's some sort of relation, so he says, okay, drive across my driveway to your house.
so what we're approving is permission to create a second driveway.
No, we're not
No.
approving, we're recommending.
No, so the concern is that we're approving a map that technically doesn't give access
To the
Correct.
second piece of
to the
property.
second lot because they're traveling across the driveway on somebody else's property
Right.
and the easement was removed, correct? The
There
access,
was no existing easement. We
Right.
had proposed an easement, but that was not accepted. So
Okay.
It's just an agreement, right, that they use.
it's permanent.
First driveway
It's
to go
permanent
to
with the
second
landlord.
house.
As
Right.
is now, without the subdivision being approved, the clients are both using the driveway as if they were, because the whole point of this, to begin with, was to have them both share that driveway, which
Right.
is what they're doing currently right now. The way that was established by the planning board was that the driveway needed to be constructed to make these two separate lots, so that one could service one house, the other could service the other house. There was no easement on it. We had suggested an easement for that to be a way that they could retain use driveways, because they both lead to both houses. But that easement is no longer on the map.
So just talking out loud here, the apron coming off the highway would be installed by the town, correct? Was that the conversation? Or is the applicant doing that to the town's specs?
It is, the way it was set to me by the highway department was that we could ask the highway department to help with that.
Mhm.
Or we could just build it to their specs, which ultimately the only thing that the highway superintendent was concerned with was the culvert.
Right.
The culvert size. He's just said, as soon as you're ready to construct, have him come out there and he would dictate the culvert size.
What is the board's thought on having the apron, not the full driveway, the apron installed so it provides the access point as proposed, as approved by the highway department? The apron gets installed. The rest of it, a new person could do and bring it up to the house whenever that time was that it got sold. But in the meantime, we are providing an access point to that piece of property off the highway. In my mind, we're doing our due diligence to make sure that there's a true access point to that new parcel.
At the town's expense?
Well, in other townships, the towns always put the apron in. I don't know what the town of Rensselaer does.
Yeah, but they've always put the break in when you know there's gonna be a driveway coming after it. But this is not the case.
True, until it would change hands, but given that there's separate parcels now, I'm suggesting that as an option to kind of ensure that process is at least started. That if there is some kind of an argument or something and somebody says, well, now this piece of property doesn't have a driveway on it. I guess I'm trying to kind of find
What is the impact of not doing it now? In other words, at some point, this is gonna be a future homeowner's problem, and they're gonna want that second driveway.
Correct.
Why do we need to be the one who is doing that?
The concern is we just can't create a landlocked parcel.
Right.
We can't create something with no legal access. Where here, the actual access is not an issue. Obviously, they've been
But are we
accessing it.
doing that? I mean, again, I don't have the vocabulary here, but we can stipulate, we are granting permission to create the second driveway at some future point, right? That solves the problem.
And the map will show exactly where that driveway is going to be.
Right. In other words, it seems weird to me to insist on putting in an apron or a driveway that may not be necessary right now, but for the purposes of making the map compliant, we want to create.
I think the other dilemma with that too, in my opinion, is if that person isn't the one that sells, what if it's the other one?
Yeah,
That's
Then the
right.
other one goes, you ain't coming across my driveway. Well, his map's totally fine.
but we can solve that right now by stipulating that the map has the future homeowner's permission to create it, right? But there's a difference, I'm sorry, I'm not being articulate.
No, you're totally fine.
There's a difference between you can do this in the future when conditions necessitate it, or you must do it right now, and maybe you never need it. The latter seems unusual to me.
No, not that you won't never need it. In my opinion, there should be a second driveway.
Okay.
In my opinion, a shared driveway is a bad idea. When that house was built, it was obviously built without permitting from the town, so on and so forth. The permitting was done after, the inspections went after. That was all done without the town being involved at all. Now that the town's involved, we would, no matter what,
Yeah.
want two separate entrances for multiple
But
reasons.
we're imposing a condition on the homeowner that they don't want.
There's two homeowners.
We're imposing a condition on the homeowners, plural, that they don't want.
Well, the
I
dilemma
think to
is
Dominic's point, if this was a new lot,
no matter what, there'd be
a
two
new
driveways.
house,
Right.
there's gonna be a driveway.
And the second one doesn't have an easement, so it's a gentleman's agreement at this point of, hey, you can come across my yard. Well, when they have an issue, where does it fall? Are they coming down to Tim Lippert? They
Right.
come up?
Yeah, they come
Are you
back to us
creating
and say,
havoc for
well-
the town, or else the other one doesn't?
No, I guess, I'm just
And it's
asking.
just, it's saving the town in the future, in my
Yeah,
opinion.
yeah.
And it was all done without the town being involved, whenever it was done, where we would have had that
Is there
enforced at
some
that point in
mechanism that
time.
allows us to grant them, the non-driveway home that we're creating, that grants them permission to create a driveway in the future if they need it, as opposed to you must do it now because we want it?
No, so our laws, if you read through everything, it would need to have a separate access.
Okay.
It would need to have a separate
Because
access.
it's a new lot.
It's a new lot.
New
It
lot.
needs to have its own driveway, unless there was an easement going through the other property where they're giving permission,
Okay.
or right away or an easement that says you can travel through this, which they don't have that right now.
Good, thank you.
So
We-
that's
we-
going
we
back.
Tried, but
Yeah,
we could.
so this lot technically does not have a driveway.
Okay.
To the residence that's
If
on
the
the property.
situation arose where there was no other way to gain access,
Yeah.
I would understand an easement more, but you can put a driveway.
Oh, easily.
That's my thought process on the whole thing.
And to that point, as kind of a middle of the road, if the apron is in your 20, 30 feet off the edge of the road, we've established
That's what
that
we're
this is the driveway,
Yeah,
this is the
okay,
driveway
okay.
location. And whether they build the rest of it to their house, we're
Okay.
giving a little bit of grace
So
here by
access.
only doing part of it.
Right, with the stipulation on the map that.
Yeah.
that's
This
not-
is where I would go.
It's permanent, okay, I got you. Thank you.
Now, yeah, that would only get stipulated on one map or both?
Well, there is a map.
This is just a single map.
Single map. okay.
Single map. And the location is here, the location is listed. It would be a condition of the approval for if we do it that way, it would be a condition of approval to have a driveway apron installed.
And that's a valid condition because we've obviously identified the concern and the planning board's empowered to impose conditions to alleviate and mitigate these potential impacts identified.
And it's a cost to the homeowner, but it's not substantial like you're doing the whole road. You're
Yeah,
doing the apron piece of it with the culvert. And again, I don't know if the town has it in their regulations that they install that piece. It sounds like that may be a possibility.
To my
But-
understanding and to my conversations, it was if we wanted the town to do it, they would be able to for a fee.
Okay,
Or we could, the client could construct it with the highway superintendent's
come out and inspect it.
inspecting it, just to make sure that the culvert size is correct, the size is
Yep.
correct, all of that, so.
Yep.
Yeah, and I think it all emanates from that culvert local law that we passed where you can pay the town highway department or something to come out and do the installation, or you do it on your own and request a formal inspection from the highway department and they
Yep.
green light it based upon the standards.
Is the board on board with that approach with,
Do you mind explaining it to me one more time, because I'm trying to.
And then how
follow
far
along.
in do you want to?
so it would only be to the highway right
away.
away.
Not be reviewed.
It'd be to the limits of the highway right away.
Well,
That's all it would
To
be.
my understanding, not to interrupt, but I believe the roadway itself as constructed would not make it out of the right of way, because I believe the right of way is 50 feet, unless I'm thinking about the setback on the map. I'm not entirely sure. I think it might be the building setback that's on the map, not the right of way. I don't have the map in front of me. I'm just
So you're
trying
saying the property line itself is beyond the right of way, which that's not, it would be one or the other.
I'm just thinking, because I haven't looked at the map for a while, so
Yep.
if you don't mind, just.
No, you're fine. I mean, there's lines on there that just dictate where the driveway would be.
It'd be the setback. Yeah. So I was thinking about the setback, so,
What is the front setback there?
I believe it's 50 feet all the way around.
Okay,
That's what I have marked.
which is quite a ways in for a normal driveway apron, but
The setback's different than the public right of way. So we're not saying you'd have to go in 50 feet.
Right, which was where my confusion was.
yeah,
Okay,
no,
yeah.
no, just so,
Just the apron.
yep,
Okay.
Yep.
So just for me clarifying this again, would this be something that needs to be addressed before approval, or would this be conditional approval upon the creation of the driveway? Or the apron?
how would we do that?
I think
Because there's
this,
actual construction piece there.
and that would probably take a while.
Mhm.
I think it would still be conditioned upon this happening, where but we'd have to set a time frame for this to happen.
Right. Do you have, just talking out loud here,
Yeah.
but do you have a way to contact the applicant to possibly discuss that with them? Maybe if you stepped outside, have a discussion with them, say what we're looking at doing, and,
So
you could-
I will say no.
Okay.
Because the applicant he lives in New York City and he's
no,
very
no, fair enough,
sporadic with his responses. So
fair enough.
I would say no.
I hate to have you come back for something if,
I
you
understand.
know,
This
it's.
project has been in front of the board for 3 years, so.
No,
it's not gonna-
I know, and a lot of it stemmed around this piece of it too.
Correct.
I think we would want to have a reasonable timeline, but I don't want to set something without you discussing that with them of when they can realistically get that piece done.
The driveway.
The driveway, having the driveway installed, because
Okay.
us saying the approval is conditional on having the driveway done, it's approved without a condition. We'd want to have to make sure that piece gets installed with the approval of the mapping.
So the apron would have to be installed before the mapping.
I think that's what we're looking for, yeah.
Are there any other notes that you would like to have on the map regarding this, or is the map fine the way it is?
I think as long as you provide the correspondence that you have with the highway
I believe I have the
superintendent.
email, I just don't have that. signed
Yep,
by-
nope, that's fine. That gave their blessing on that piece of it. That describes what the apron is, that they said to do it within the town specs. And then any subsequent correspondence that they have saying that the town's gonna build it and the applicant's gonna pay for it, or the applicant's gonna build it with town inspection, just to have that correspondence in the file. And then when that piece was done, we can do that approval.
Right.
Because there's not an ownership change. They own the property already, so they can do the work on it. It's not like they're selling it and somebody else has to do the work on the property itself.
Correct, and it seems to be just the apron to get it approved.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
And then the driveway itself would not have a timeline on that?
Nope.
either?
We just want the apron to provide access to the property.
Okay.
And that kind of gives that good faith effort that in the future, if property changes hands, somebody coming to buy it doesn't assume that they're coming in this other driveway. They can, doesn't get built, they can say, what's that for? And that conversation.
Now, would it still be a stipulation on the map? For the future?
If it's built and shown correctly on the map, then it wouldn't no, I think I still want the notes on the
I
map
would
as
put
it
the
is.
notes on the map first.
Leave the notes on the map. I don't think we changed that because it's a proposed driveway. It's a proposed driveway location.
And with other subdivisions, like I've said, this one is kind of strange because both houses are already built,
Right,
but other subdivisions get approved with proposed roadways
Yep.
quite often.
yep,
Yeah, other subdivision, the expectation would be a house at the end. These houses are here, I get it.
Correct.
You're just putting the chicken
Yeah.
before the egg,
That's
however
why
you
it's
wanna
kinda
put it.
weird, yeah.
It's fine, I get it, but it's already done. In my opinion, a driveway needs to be there.
Yep.
Or something.
okay, so moving forward, you'll contact the applicant, and get that information for us.
Yep, I'll get you my correspondence. I will get you that signed document, which I believe I had last time,
Mhm.
the packet that I had last time, but I will look for it.
Any subsequent correspondence with the highway superintendent on the actual building of the apron? And then at that point, we'll come back to us and should be able to move forward.
Okay, and I remember you guys mentioning a timeline. Like I said, the client is pretty sporadic with his communications with me.
Yep.
Is there an expectation of a timeline that you'd be interested in, or is it mostly on his schedule?
We've done,
I think the timeline would correspond with when it gets approved essentially.
but the application itself, there's a timeline set now. We started a clock on the timeline, correct?
Now we have 62 days from the close of the public hearing being today, but we can also
Do extension.
extend that upon mutual consent
Yep.
if we have to.
Okay, that's what I was mostly concerned about.
Yep.
Because I just don't want to have to.
No, we don't want to go through the whole process again, that's for sure.
Okay.
And we just schedule a site visit when this fits in.
I think as long as,
Put eyes on it, or-
I would
You
just
should have
some-
correspondence with the town, either the town's gonna put it in or they're gonna inspect it.
You will have, the highway superintendent will have to
So
be
it should
on
be-
site to.
Yep.
Show the size of the culvert at that
Yep.
point, so if that's fine. with you.
whether they build it or we inspect it.
Someone will have put
Yep.
eyes on it from the town.
Yep. Okay, and then we'll just leave it to you at this point to get back to us when you're ready to move forward.
Okay.
When those things are taken care of.
Okay.
All right. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. I'm just gonna write down some notes.
Yep, take your time.
Just listen, right?
We do adjourn public hearing.
We did that already. We closed public
We
hearing.
close the
Yeah.
public
Yes.
hearing, so the 62 days runs from now, and I put a note on my calendar, so I'll make sure it doesn't accidentally lapse or anything like that.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, next we have American Tower, special use permit.
My name is Arian Eastman. I am with Centerline Communications on behalf of American Tower.
Welcome.
So
So you guys are looking to co-locate the existing tower, correct?
we are, yes. On behalf of T-Mobile, they would like to put in some equipment. So I have the full list of what we're looking to do.
Okay,
The tower itself would receive 6 new antennas, 6 new radios, and 3 hybrid cables. On the ground, they're proposing a 10 by 15 foot pad with 3 cabinets that would house equipment, an H-frame, an ice canopy, emergency backup generator, and generator.
all of those components are within inside the fence that's already existing there?
Yep, within a 10 by 15 pad, so. it-
Oh, that, all of that equipment sits on that
Sits on
pad,
that
which is
pad,
inside the fence?
Which is inside the
Yep.
existing, so there's no change to the footprint
Yep.
on the ground, there's no change to the tower height itself.
Okay.
So,
And just for the boards to refresh our memory, I think we've dealt with one of these before, and this falls under and the applicant can step in wherever, but this falls under that eligible facilities request where the key language is the state and local government unit, meaning this planning board, may not deny and shall approve any eligible facilities request for modification of an existing wireless tower or base station that, and here's our fact for consideration, does not substantially change the physical dimensions of such tower or base station. So that's what this board's review is kind of limited to under federal law.
So with that being said, do we have to do a special use permit?
We do,
Okay.
unfortunately. Can't just skip it.
Okay.
Maybe if the federal law got a bit more into the weeds.
Yeah. Okay,
It just takes out some of this board's discretion.
right.
When you say some of it, you mean all of it.
Well, to the extent we're looking at a substantial change.
Right. the footprint, the tower height doesn't get taller. It's components that get put inside of the existing fence and on the
They're
tower
very
itself.
well versed in this. The last time it was the same way.
What I don't, do you have a checklist for the special use permit? Would you mind grabbing one for me, just so I don't miss any step as we go through this? Everybody got, this is, so the papers that you got are the very first part of the packet that we have. There's certainly a lot more information here, including plans that go along with it. I would invite anybody to take a look at any and all of this as you see fit. I don't know that it necessarily warrants making copies of everything, but this file will be here if you do wish to look through the rest of it. But some of the first pieces of the application, building permit application, description of the project, those are in that exhibit 1, exhibit 2.
Is this the Camp Cass one? By Camp Cass? I'm trying to think where that is.
Crop Road.
There aren't that many cell towers in Westerville, so that's what I was thinking.
I was gonna say, we have 2, I know that. 'Cause we have another one that'll be coming up.
Yep, that's perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is the one up by Pondell Road, backside of Rensselaer. June 5th. So we have to do public hearing and everything for this.
That's been our procedure, and I'm not aware of any authority to waive the public hearing,
Okay.
unfortunately.
All right. Um, Just bear with me. I'm looking at a lot of this for the first time tonight.
That's no problem.
There's a building permit application. Is there a special use permit application in the packet? That you know of?
It says a completed building permit and special use permit application.
Yeah, I thought he did submit, my coworker Colin submitted it, and I believe it was all together, but,
Okay,
um,
I got building permit application.
he did submit a zoning, which would have had that, but it may be separate. Where did that get sent?
So though that piece would go to Tim.
Yeah,
We'll
so
need
that
a,
piece went to
we'll
Tim.
need a separate special use permit application to go with this, just so our documents are complete.
Okay.
All right, I just want to go through the list here of what we need. Was the fee paid for special use permit, do you know?
Probably not. I'm guessing if you don't have the application, then no.
Yep, okay.
It says payment checks.
There were checks for that. I just don't know if there's an additional fee. So we have the one for 250 that went with the zoning permit application, and then we have,
Is that, I think that is.
150.
Just the zoning permit would be.
Okay, so we did send in a building permit for 150, and
Okay,
Maybe the
so those checks
application
were
is
both
different.
sent.
okay. 250. So we'll just double check and confirm, and if just to make sure that that's all taken care of. Because it's 150 for the special use permit.
And that check did
There's a check
go,
for 250 for the building permit. So do you mind grabbing Tim? Thank you.
you said you had the one for 250?
This is the one for 250 with the receipt here for
Yeah,
250.
so they also sent in the building permit application, so he sent
Two checks.
2 checks,
Okay.
2 applications, 2
Okay.
files, so I don't know who has the other one.
All right,
So it sounds like it was submitted, we're just
Yep.
tracking down.
Yeah. It just, if it went in 2 different packets, it probably
no, that's fine.
confuses everybody.
Applications that came in for the cell tower, Tim, building permit. Did we get a special use permit application? I've got the building permit application here.
I think what I did is forwarded you the planning board referral form. Did you get that? Or nothing? None of the above?
Not that I'm seeing anything in the packet here.
It's possible that you haven't either.
Okay,
Kind of on a transition here on clerks.
that's fine.
Or
I just want to make sure we've got everything that we need.
I will make sure that you do.
Okay, so things that I'm seeing here, just off the top, we'll make sure we have a special use permit application, site consent form, which is also part of that packet. I believe you had taxes paid in here, but is there taxes for that piece?
We can get that.
Okay.
We have that in-house.
The fee of 150, we'll double check that that is here. And mapping, everything else looks like would be here as part of this. Let me just take a quick.
Did you get
There's 2 applications.
two? Because I have it here that says that he did send his permit with that. Or application, sorry.
Yeah.
I do have your referral for Centerline Communications LLC from C. Morgan.
Yep.
Co-location, cell tower, special use permits. I just have the Word doc, I don't have the.
I don't have the
with check.
PDF. I can forward it to you. Okay.
Just in case you don't want to see that.
What's the email you want it to go to?
Are you taking down any equipment or just adding to?
Just Logan. Yep. T-Mobile currently does not have equipment on the tower, so it would all be new.
Thank you.
Email?
Yep.
AEC @ trklaw.com.
Okay. Just forward it to you. And that has both applications
Okay.
in that email, so that'll be coming to you.
You getting those now?
Yeah, I think she
Okay.
just forwarded them on.
Might take a minute. but-
That's right.
And the board just has to get its on this application because we do have to move it along.
Yep.
If we don't act on it within 60 days, all of this,
Happens anyway.
yeah, all this discussion is kind of moot.
Yep.
But we at least have to know where it is. what the
Yeah,
application
yeah,
is
and-
doing it.
Yep. So we'll give that a minute and we can work off of that.
Yeah.
Is this from the Institute?
Yeah.
I honestly don't know where the Institute begins and ends these days.
It's-
Beyond the Institute, where the Moody property is, yeah. I mean, that's unusual that the site name is called Helderberg Road.
Not to interrupt you guys, do you want the receipts for the public hearing?
Yes, please.
Do you want me to hand it off or?
Right there would be fine. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Yep.
Have a nice evening.
Yep.
I've not gotten anything.
Okay.
Yeah, there's a service road between the tennis courts where the roof goes.
This was the
Something like that,
upgrade.
the Moody property. Yeah, and,
AEC at trklaw.com.
.com.
Okay. So that's sent.
Let's see here.
Did it go to spam? Because that happens.
I'll check.
I never check mine, so.
So while we're waiting for that, I'm just taking a look at the mapping, site location map. It has all the lot lines on it. I don't think we're too concerned about just knowing where it's an existing feature and nothing's changing as far as the footprint. The mapping certainly shows the access getting into the site and the site location. no new proposed roads. Ingress egress is the same. None of the other items apply. Oh, this is going at the top of the tree.
124 foot center line on the 131 foot pole, so yes.
And I just sent you an email, so if you get that, just respond to that one.
Okay,
And if you don't get that, then we might have an issue.
issues. Did you send it to the C. Morgan one though?
No,
Okay, I was gonna say, just making sure.
sent it to A Eastman.
Hey, Eastman, yep.
The use type determination, what would this be classified as?
Special use permit. Now let me pull up that referral letter. For a communications tower.
Is it has its own designation?
Yeah, that's what,
Okay.
that's what our referral has on
Okay.
here.
Could just be the signal isn't strong enough, because I'm not getting yours either.
That's why we need the tower.
Some just pinged on my phone. I don't know what you guys are doing.
There it goes, yep. Okay.
Probably way too much data to.
Yeah, it's not liking it.
Well, this is what I had from Tim, just, this is the referral form we started, which has some of, it's not as detailed. as
Right.
If she can pull it up, could she just tell you what?
Do you have it there? Do you have, are you able to
Can you
look?
access it, like see the actual, and just kind of go through it with us as we go line by line, maybe?
That's a good idea.
Kind of a pain in the butt for you, but.
Yeah, I mean, I have both of them, but it's just, if you need to see it, that's the difference.
Yeah, do you mind if we?
Not at all.
Okay.
It's not very, like, easy to read on that, but
So is this the same as this looks like it's the same as the packet though?
yeah. Oh, you want the other one?
Yes,
Sorry.
if you
My
have
apologies,
the
yeah.
special use permit application, that's the one that I'm looking for.
They're in the same email. I clicked on that one. That's the zoning one.
That's building permit. There we go. Okay. Special use permit application. Okay, have a copy of that, application fee. Do you know if there was I didn't see it in here, a site consent form?
I'm
I
not,
don't think anybody necessarily needs to go up to take a look at it. But we should have a copy of that for the file.
okay. No, probably not then. If it's not in there, then we don't have it and I can
Okay.
get that for you.
Okay,
She signed it?
What is our site visit consent form?
it's very simple, the applicant.
Oh,
So if you're
then,
representing,
then
you
yes.
sign.
yeah,
Yep, we could do that tonight as well.
Okay.
So the only thing I need is proof of taxes,
Mhm.
site consent form. We can establish the type of use for a communications tower. We need a motion for that, right?
yeah, let's make a good record on
Okay.
it.
Accept a motion to designate the use type for this application as communications tower. You get a second? Second by Brad. Dominic, I'm sorry. Motion by Brad, second by Dominic.
Yes, sir.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed? Okay, motion carried. So we can't do application is complete until we do those other things. So we need proof of taxes and the site consent form we can do easily enough, but we need proof of taxes for that. Are we okay with moving forward and checking on that?
Yeah.
I think the board should be.
Okay. Okay, I'll accept a motion to accept the special use permit application as complete, conditional on site consent form, signature, and proof of taxes. You get a motion?
I'll make motion.
Motion by Dorothea, second.
Second.
Second by Brad, all in favor? Aye, opposed, motion carried. Okay. Inspection. We have to go through seeker for this too? Seeker and public hearing?
Yes, so what we should do is do a motion to classify it as unlisted and declare lead. Set public hearing,
Okay,
and then at the public do form of seeker, do
Okay.
it, determine
Okay.
open and close, and that should be it.
do you need two separate motions for,
Yeah, let's do one seeker motion to
Yep.
classify as unlisted and declare lead agency.
accept a motion to classify this as an unlisted action and lead agency needs to be a second separate motion?
No, it can be
Same.
the same.
And to designate the town of Runcinsville as lead agency. Motion? Motion Dominic, second.
Second.
Second by Brad, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed, motion carried. Okay, and then schedule public hearing. Let's look at the calendar. Nobody else needs to review this, correct? We need time to advertise, so are we looking at July 3rd?
Yeah, I think the turnaround would be too short for the 19th.
July 3rd work for you for a public hearing? I'll accept a motion to schedule a public hearing for the American Tower special use permit for July 3rd at 7 o'clock.
So moved.
Motion, second? Second by Dominic. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed, carried. All right, so I said July 3rd. July 3rd at 7 PM. Okay. Anything else for this at this point? Okay.
As far as we can go.
Yep. So We can check on proof of taxes for you, and then the site visit consent form. Would you mind pulling one of them up for her before she heads out, just so we have that, we can put that right in the file.
Sounds good.
And then the next step will be on the 3rd for public hearing.
All right,
All right,
thank you.
great, thank you.
Thank you.
If
Thanks for
there's
your
anything no problem. Anything in the meantime, just let me know.
And we have,
Yes.
we have a copy. You guys have sent that, so we'll have a paper copy to stick in the file.
Yeah, once it comes through cyberspace,
All
we'll be
right,
all
good,
good.
all right.
Forward it on.
If it doesn't, if you don't see
And
it,
now I have all your info, so
Yeah,
when I'm
just
in the
let me know.
office tomorrow, if I don't have it by then.
there's
something's
issues.
up.
All right, thank you.
Have a great
Have a
night.
nice night.
Okay, do we have any other items for business for tonight? Anything else? All right, accept the motion to adjourn. Motion by Robert, second by Brad. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Thanks for coming, everybody.
Okay, that's it.
We're still on our recording right now, so.
Well, it's either type 1, type 2, or unlisted. Unlisted tends to catch all. Type 2 is a state list of things that are, the state says these have no environmental impact. It's like things that don't really involve any change in the land use, like a lot line adjustment or a variance for a single family home. So those are type 2, you just classify it as type 2 and that's it. And or type 1 actions are the big ones, big development projects, might disturb more than 10 acres, something like
So
that.
we generally are type 2 is on this.
Right. Since I started, I don't think we've done the type 1 here.
We did adjourn. I know the recording is still going, but we're all set. Thank you.